Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
Join the Watch Your Opera House this Saturday, December 14th at 6 p.m. for a festive evening where The Finesse will deck the halls with their holiday magic, delivering a repertoire of classics that'll transport you to the heart of the season. Doors open at 5 and the show starts at 6. It's an all-ages show and tickets are a free will donation. Bring your friends and family and be part of the festive fun this Saturday with The Finesse at the Watch Your Opera House. Brothers Market in Sigourney is having a 2-day sale this Friday and Saturday. Bring the little ones in. Santa will be here on Friday, December 13th from 5 to 7 p.m. Door prizes and free samples. Take advantage of all the great savings you see. Savings are always made simple at Brothers Market in Sigourney, but especially during the 2-day sale this Friday and Saturday. That's Brothers Market at 118 South Main Street in Sigourney on the west side of the square. It's Christmas time at Mahaska Drug at 205 North East Street in Oskaloosa. They have everything Christmas that you could possibly need in the store. You've got to stop in and check it out. Plus, come see Santa at Mahaska Drug in Oskaloosa every Saturday through Christmas, plus on Christmas Eve from 11 to 1. Mahaska Drug also has a wreath decorating contest going on. The annual Christmas giving tree is in store, and so much more. There's always something happening at Mahaska Drug in Oskaloosa. They're open 7 days a week. Stop by for whatever your Christmas needs are.
Good evening. This is More Than You Asked For podcast. You can hear I got a dog back just like we had the other day. He doesn't like me talking into a microphone with nobody here. So I have Atticus again. My parents are flying back down to Florida tomorrow to do more stuff for my uncle and everything. As you can see, we cannot see Trevor tonight. If those of you that do watch on the video on Spotify or on YouTube, his computer video is down, but that's all right. You can we'll be able to hear each other. Kind of main topics tonight, obviously the Big 12 championship with Iowa State. I'm wearing the sweatshirt I got down there. Bowl games, some transfer portal stuff, playoffs, and then a little bit of NFL. The Cowboys and the Bengals are tied right now at 17, and I think Burrow just threw a pick. So we're going to go from there. But first, I want to welcome Trevor in to this week's podcast. Welcome, Trev.
Good evening. Yeah, sorry you can't see me. It looks like there's a computer icon from what I can see. So maybe that's better looking than I am in real life anyway. So that maybe I'm doing the viewers a little favor here.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go ahead and let's get right to it. Iowa State really got boat raced. Arizona State's good, and Iowa State, I believe, played their worst game. So a combination of both things, and it turned out really bad for the Cyclones. And it's just another opportunity for the Cyclones. And I'm going to throw Iowa into this a little bit too, where you have the opportunity to get to the playoff. You have the opportunity to win a conference championship. You have an opportunity to show what you're made of on a national stage. And whether it's Iowa State in Sweet 16 basketball games, Iowa in Big Ten championship football games, or the NCAA tournament to get to a Sweet 16, or Iowa State now twice in the Big 12 title game, or bowl games against big-time teams, Clemson, Notre Dame. They don't rise to the occasion, and I was actually very disappointed in Iowa State. It was not a good game. I don't know if they weren't ready or if they just weren't ready or if Arizona State might be that good. That running back is really good. We wanted no part of him. There's some questions that have to be answered in the Iowa State football offices this week.
Yeah, for Iowa State specifically in that game, Scattaboo or Peekaboo, if you want to call him that, Iowa State, you're right. They wanted no part of him in that game. He was a monster. People brought up the Mike Allstock comparisons. It kind of reminded me of that. And he had some runs too where he was running backwards.
Oh, yeah.
7 or 8 yards a carry. So I don't even know if it would have mattered if Iowa State would have, tried to run a 4-4 going into the game or something instead of that 3-3-5. I don't think it would have made a difference.
No, I don't think so either. There were a few plays there where it got away from them is at the end of the first half. They forced a punt, first punt of the game. First punt we'd forced all day. And then we went 3 and out and took about 1 minute off the clock. We should have ran the football, made them use some timeouts, or ran out the clock closer. We had to punt it back to them. Scattaboo had another big run, and they scored a touchdown with a couple minutes left in the half. And then we have a big run to get to about midfield, and we just let the clock run out. And then we all know what happened in the first 3 drives of the second half where we turned it over, and it went from bad to worse. And, after that first drive, Iowa State, held them to a field goal, which is a win for the Cyclones. They usually let them score a touchdown first. And then, you go down and score relatively easily. It looked really good. And then you have, I believe on the next, and the order might be out here, but we had them 4th and 1, I think, near midfield, and they went for it, and they threw that long pass to almost, they didn't get a touchdown directly out of it, but it got to like the 3-yard line. And that was a big, big play as well.
Yeah, it felt like that play kind of created the snowball effect that happened in this game. The first half for the most part was somewhat close.
Right.
And then it just, like I said, it snowballed, and Iowa State couldn't recover from it. They get the ball back after half. You're thinking, here's a chance. If you can score a touchdown, going into the third quarter, you're right back in this thing. And then from that moment on, it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, 2 fumbles by Sama and then a pick off the helmet of, one of the linemen for Rocco. I'm going to pull something up on my phone here real quick. Might take me a minute here, but I had just a few thoughts here and some questions. One, Rocco seems to get lots and lots of balls tipped or knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Is it simply his height? He's not very big. Or is it some schematic, or is it the lineman just not keeping defensive linemen's hands down? I think obviously it's some of all three. We all know that. But as a impartial observer, what do you think is the biggest factor in him getting so many balls tipped or knocked down at the line of scrimmage? It seems to be 2 or 3 at every game.
I think it's a little bit to do with the throwing angle. Now, he's only 6'1", according to the depth chart, or depending where you look. I spoke about this years ago with Baker Mayfield. Baker used to have a ton of balls batted down in the NFL. Now, I don't watch as many of his games as I used to. He still may have that problem, but that is something for quarterbacks that are a little bit shorter, or their throwing platform, the ball just comes out a little bit too flat, and you get a bunch of those balls knocked down. So, yeah, he did have a few. They brought that up during the game, and that is another problem. If that's something they can work on going into next season, I would assume so, but I don't know how easy that is to fix, though, either.
Yeah, I don't either. Let me see if we can.
Yeah, ideally, you'd like your quarterbacks to be 6'4", 6'5", and then hopefully you don't really have those problems very often. But, yeah, for Rocco, it is something that I've started to notice. The broadcast brought it up. And, again, like I said, Baker's had that problem early in his career in the NFL, and some other short quarterbacks have as well.
Yeah. I can't tell if I had it on here, I thought. I don't know, but I just had some other questions. And then 2, just the tackling. So that was number 1. And then, number 2, the receivers. Sometimes you just have to throw it to your guys. We had 2 studs, and I know they were trying to take them away, and they've done it. And this isn't just the Big 12 championship game. This is just in general. We didn't throw the ball downfield like we did at the beginning of the year when we were so successful. And I know teams started playing 2 high safeties over 1 high safety, but sometimes you just have to throw it up and let your guy go make a play. That's what the good teams do. That if you look at what the pros do, they just throw it up to their guy and say, hey, go get it. And, Noel's little, but Higgins is big, 6'3", 6'4". You got to just throw it to him and hope for the best.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that they didn't give the receivers more opportunities. Those are
Right.
two of their best players on the team. You thought they would have given them just some, maybe even some 50-50 balls like you're kind of talking about. But for whatever reason, they didn't. Obviously, yeah, like you said, when defenses start playing two safeties, it makes it a little bit tougher. But you almost have to take a chance here and there just to keep the defense honest. And especially when you start getting down like they were, it just – that game was a weird one for Iowa State. I mean, it was competitive for briefly. It was competitive, and then Arizona State just ran away with that thing.
Yeah, Arizona State. I mean, they showed no doubt, and the final score was 45-19. It was actually worse than that. I mean, if you really want to get down to it, that game there was no. Once Iowa State turned it over those 3 times and didn't hold them to any field goals, it was 3 straight touchdowns. It was over, and it wasn't close. It's just a super disappointing day on – that's just not the stage that you want to play a bad football game. And Iowa State played bad. And it came out today on Pro Football Focus. The defense, besides Dominic Orange, he had a great day again. They played really, really bad. And our linebackers are so bad that it is pathetic and it's pitiful, and the tackling is god-awful. And I understand we have some guys hurt, but I truly believe it was some business decisions that these guys didn't want any part of. And I've not been as disappointed in Iowa State as I was on Saturday watching that game. It was not good.
No, it wasn't. And, Scadaboo had a couple runs early, and you thought, okay, that he's going to have those.
Yeah.
You're not going to totally contain him. But then, in the back of your mind, you're kind of thinking, okay, Iowa State will get their head together. They'll make some business decisions, as you're talking about, and start at least attempting to make some better tackles. And it appears that they just, I don't want to say quit, but they wanted no part of him most of that game.
They wanted no part of hitting Scadaboo, or however you say it for sure. But and now he's really good, and he made them. And I thought their quarterback was a lot better than I thought. And they were missing their top receiver, but they brought a guy in that they were going to redshirt, but this game didn't count for redshirt, and bowl games don't count. So you can play these guys, and he was really good. And I think he caught 2 passes for like 45 yards, but 2 touchdowns. And just the offense, I mean, it was the field goal. A field goal was missed. It was just an all-around, no part of the team was ready to go. And it was, I don't know if the rumors are that Saturday or Sunday Campbell talked to North Carolina. I don't know if that was getting involved in this. I don't know if some of the players are looking around and seeing what could happen. And you're always worried about that this time of year. But they were playing for everything. The way everything worked out, I don't know if it's a close ball game. If Clemson would jump Iowa State in that situation if they'd have won, but the way it worked out, there was a heck of a chance that you get a bye in the playoff and you're in the final 8. And Iowa State just looked like they were not ready to play. And I'm super disappointed in the effort of Iowa State from what I saw. And I know they're all saying they gave it. I don't think they did. That or the scheme was just that bad, or they got that bad outcoached. It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, it sucks to make that long trip, and we're going to get into the positives of that trip here shortly. I want to let you speak on that, but in 2015, I made that trip to Indianapolis to go watch Iowa play Michigan State. Now that game was close, obviously.
Oh, that was a great football game. You weren't on the right side of it, but it went down to the wire. That was a heck of a football game.
Yeah, so that one wasn't. I mean, it sucked, but then part of the positive was the next day driving back. Me, Ty West, Al West, Taylor Howard, Matt Mish, we knew the Rose Bowl was a possibility, and then they announced it on the drive back. So we all made the decision, hey, we're going to go out to California.
Yep.
None of us had any money, but we're like, yeah, we're going to go and make a trip of it. And then, the past couple Big Ten championships where Iowa played in, where they basically, couldn't even get a first down. That's pretty tough. For Iowa State, like I said, the first quarter and the first half in a way, it was somewhat close. But then, man, that second half, they had to make for a tough time and a tough drive back because, like you said, the effort just wasn't there, in my opinion.
I agree, and that's what disappoints me. Again, just like you just said, you got that Iowa game, you got beat at the end, 2 really good football teams, and it just didn't go your way. But this one team was fired up and ready to play, and one team looked flat, and that just disappoints me. Let's kind of get to the drive and just the travel part of it. A lot of driving in, really like a day and a half, 2 days. It's an easy drive. It's just right down the road. It's just a long ways. We got there about 1:30 Saturday morning. So it literally, got there and went to bed. Woke up 7:30, 8 o'clock. I think we left our hotel like 8:45. Went to Jerry World. Now I will say that stadium is awesome. There is a difference in that stadium than college football stadiums. And it's super nice. Lots of bathrooms, concessions, there's lots of area. You don't feel congested. Like when you go to Iowa State, and I understand Iowa State Stadium was built in the 70s, and, this was built, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But it's apples to oranges. You can't even compare how nice, and everything's just ran super smooth. And also they know how to run it. This is a big time place. Now, one thing I will say, I was disappointed in the crowd. It was not very full. It wasn't, I wouldn't even say it was half full. And we could get into that. And I think going forward and just in general, I don't know how much of a crowd you're going to have at any of these. And how much now these first round games are on campus are going to be packed. Obviously, every season ticket holder is going to have it, and then you got the other team. But when you get to the Rose Bowl or in the Fiesta Bowl, and then the semifinal, and then the final, you think about Oregon, who's the number 1 seed. They would have had to go to Indianapolis, which is 2/3 away across the country. Then they're going to have to go to the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day, and then they're going to have to go to wherever it is for the semifinal, and then another place for the final, which is Atlanta. So that's all the way across the country. There's only so many dollars that everybody has, and there's only so many fans that could go to every single one of them. You have to pick and choose which games to go to and which ones not to. And I think these conference championships, now, Iowa State and Arizona State was a play-in game, so it mattered a lot, but that Oregon-Penn State game was not a play-in game. It was to get a bye. And especially going forward, I think they are going to – I think skipping the byes is going to be important. I think, every conference championship needs to be in, but I don't think they need a bye. And we can talk about that here in a little bit, but just Oregon's path is so much harder than Penn State's path. It's not even close. And I would say Texas's path is way easier than Georgia's. And they're the two teams